What's up, everyone? Welcome to the State Phillies Sports History for July 27th, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Saturday edition of the podcast. It's going to be another gorgeous day out there, so get out and enjoy before the heat wave returns. Let's start off with a little housekeeping. Be sure to follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mont at Twitter and TikTok, at Philly Jimbo on Instagram. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn. However you got to do, be sure to subscribe wherever you're listening or watching this. And even if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, go to the YouTube channel, like and subscribe. That's where you can stay in the loop with everything. I'm still working on trying to figure out how to do some live hits. Might be just messing around in the coming weeks. So best way to stay in the loop if I go live is to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Everything is, all my social media is also connected through there as well. And then from yesterday's podcast, I completely buried the lead with, we talked about the Phillies setting the home run record with 7 back in 2018. And I did say on the mound that day was Ranger Suarez. Failed to mention that was his major league debut. I had it written down in my notes, just completely was an oversight. So that's the only reason I was mentioning that Ranger Suarez was on the mound, who will be on the mound tomorrow for the Phils. And speaking of the Phils, not really sure. That was just a sloppy game. They played piss poor defense. And I think they only ended up with one error, but just mental lapses. Even like we're watching the game, my son was like, "Dad, what are they doing?" And it just was, they forgot to cover bases. They were out of position, threw to the wrong base, just overall sloppy, and it cost them 3-1. They could not get any offense going. Left runners in scoring position, 0 for 6. And it's a shame because Sanchez pitched very, very well. And I know early the umpire did not help them at all. But as you know, I've been very consistent through this, through the time I've been doing this podcast. I'm not going to put the blame on the umpire for why they lost that game. Certainly didn't help, but he was consistently bad on both ends. Still, you can't go 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position. Especially when Sanchez did not pitch bad. He was not getting hit hard. A lot of those defensive miscues really, really hurt him. Tyler Phillips is on the mound today. And again, now they're in a hole where they need to come and win both of these games in order to win the series. They now have a 9-game lead over a new team. All of a sudden, the New York Mutts are on our radar. They beat the Braves. They're playing again today. But just a piss poor defensive performance, piss poor offensive performance. It's just they're in a slump, and that leads us to today's question of the day. All the cliches you want to say. It's a long season. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Ebbs and flows. This happens. Blah 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 blah. Are you concerned with the way the Phillies playing? 267-495-8531. That'll get you into the Back to the Future voice and text line. But basically, is this a blip on the radar, or is this a cause for concern? Get your answer in. Get that and anything else Philly sports related off your chest. You want to talk about the trade I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. What's next for the Phillies? Get all of that out. It's fair game. 267-495-8531. That's the Back to the Future voice and text line. If you leave a voicemail, you could be played on the podcast as well. But is this a blip or a cause for concern? I'm somewhere in the middle right now. And I know it's a work in progress because the trade deadline is on Tuesday. But, man, they're just – I don't know if it's time for a players-only meeting or what. But it's just almost like they were half asleep. Even John Kruk said they're playing like the day after they clinch. Kind of in a fog, hungover, whatever. I don't know, but I'm starting to lean more toward the cause for concern. The good thing is nobody really is running away with anything. The Mets have been hot, but everything they won is still right out there. And maybe I have a little PTSD from the way the Eagles season ended. I don't know, but is this a cause for concern or just a blip on the radar? Let me know. Call or text the Back to the Future voice and text line 267-495-8531. But there was a trade. Austin Hayes from the Orioles is coming up, I should say. And we sent Sir Anthony Dominguez, who actually pitched for the Orioles last night, and Christian Pache. Originally, when this dropped yesterday afternoon, I was like, oh, okay, there's their platoon bat, because Hayes is very, very good against lefties. He was an all-star last year, kind of got pushed to the bottom of the depth chart in Baltimore because of all the young guys they have. He started the all-star game last year, and I know each season is different and all of that. But it does appear, based on what Rob Thompson said yesterday, and he hadn't had a chance to talk to Hayes, Marsh, or Sanchez, but it does look like they're going to give him a shot to play every day in left. And based on his history, maybe that's a good thing, because he can hit righties and lefties. And in Baltimore, they raised the fence, so his home run numbers were down slightly because they raised the fence and actually moved the left field fence back. That bodes well playing at Citizens Bank Park, because his numbers were far better on the road. So maybe that is a change of scenery. Playing every day will get Austin Hayes back into his all-star form. But where does that leave Brandon Marsh? Where does that leave Johan Rojas? And I don't know. Is that going to be the platoon situation? Is there another trade on the horizon? Is Brandon Marsh more hurt than what we thought? I think we'll get more answers to that as the day goes on and as we get closer to the trade deadline. But I do like this trade. All accounts say that I saw a couple interviews from Baltimore players who he was a locker room leader, so there should not be any issue of him fitting into the clubhouse culture. I know that that is one of the biggest concerns that folks have about him, but I like I said, I like this. He should be able to and could excel here at Citizens Bank Park with a shorter fence, and we'll see how that goes. But I do believe that this is just one piece of a lot of major moves, because now the bullpen is severely a need, because you already needed one. Now you're down basically another guy in the bullpen. So I do think there are more moves coming from Dombroski. It should be an interesting rest of the weekend and Monday and Tuesday as we get closer to the trade deadline. But Austin Hayes is coming to Philly, but we don't know yet what that means for Brandon Marsh or Johan Rojas. We could see Austin Hayes in the lineup tonight. So we'll see, and hopefully we get some more clarity from Rob Thompson or even Dombroski. But they're high on this dude. I know Dombroski said he's been trying to get him for the past couple years. So it looks as though he's going to be slotted in as your everyday left fielder. We'll see how that all plays out. But the most important part is, with Tyler Phillips on the mound, they need to get that win and kind of put us in a situation to win this series tomorrow. But it's not been good. Be sure to answer the question of the day. Is this a blip on the radar, or is it a cause for concern? I know the team is kind of incomplete right now, so it's hard to say it's a cause for concern, but I'm starting to slide over to that camp. Be sure to check out my boys at the Clashing Conferences podcast. New episode for baseball dropped yesterday. I have not had a chance to watch it yet, but they're having some fun over there, doing some great things. So be sure to check out the Clashing Conferences podcast anywhere you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. And a side note, as you're voting on the question of the day and getting your thoughts and feedback, just kind of putting a feeler out there too. Would anyone be interested in if I did a little something for the Little League World Series, and kind of, I know on Tuesdays I've been talking about the men's issues and things like that. Would anybody be interested in kind of having sort of a reminiscing sort of listen to Little League and fun? So let me know that. Just kind of putting feelers out there. Don't want to put something out if you're not going to listen, or if you're going to be excited about it, I want to make sure I pursue that. So let me know that. All right. Recap of yesterday's question today. Went out a little bit out of order, but we're getting back there. I asked you, what about the way that Vic Fangio coaches his players? Are you on board with it? 100% said, yep, you are on board. These players need to toughen up. Lots of feedback about the way the season ended yesterday, and this is sort of what they need. And there's a lot of talk about players these days, and I know I sort of feel the same way. It's like, toughen up, get yelled at. You're not doing your job. But thank you, as always, for participating in the question of the day. But 100%, it was unanimous. You said these players are fair game to be called out, and they need to toughen up. Not a lot going on with the Eagles yesterday. I think they had a short walkthrough, and they're off today, or they were either off yesterday and have a walkthrough today. Either way, but I had to mention this because this is great, and you love it when this happens to Dallas. But Jerry Jones is kind of, I think he's losing it. He went on a rant talking about how he's an option quarterback and not signing his players, and essentially was like, I don't understand why these guys aren't coming in for a chance to win the Super Bowl. We'll let the money take care of itself. And it's easy for him to say that. But just, if you can, look up his thing where he talked, basically he compared himself to Patrick Mahomes. Not sure where that came from. And I will say that he's completely out of touch, and a lot of folks in Philly complained when Jeffrey Lurie started to give his son Julian a lot more power within the organization, essentially setting him up to be sort of the owner of the Eagles once Jeffrey decides to step away. And this is the perfect example of why you do that, because if you listen to this, nobody knows anything about what Jerry was talking about. I think he's completely lost it. He's out of touch, and I'm all for it. I hope he continues to drive that team into the ground. But Dak Prescott's already talking about his next team. Like, it's fun to see. It really is. It's truly fun to see the Cowboys imploding the way they are. But again, this is why Jeffrey Lurie puts Julian in positions of power and allows him to start grooming him, so to speak, to take over the team. And if you look, and I know people were upset about that, but if you look at what's happening in Dallas, that's the alternative. I won't get into politics at all, but old people sometimes just need to gracefully step away and let the younger people do what they need to do. I wanted to mention this as well. The Eagles' social media content, if you're not following them on Twitter or YouTube or TikTok, whatever you follow them on, their social media team is top notch. The other day they hooked up the players to lie detectors and were asking them questions about their teammates. Good quality stuff, hilarious. I highly recommend it. This is in no way, I'm not getting paid for this. They're not a sponsor. They're just doing some good quality stuff over there on the social media content. And then I missed this the other day, but I absolutely love this story out of training camp. After day one, the offensive line, I guess, had a few bad false start, took a lot of penalties, and Jordan Mailata and Cam Jurgens sort of are stepping up to fill that Jason Kelce role, made the linemen run sprints for those false start penalties to kind of hold them accountable. I guess that's something that Jason Kelce used to do, and I really like that. And I like internally them handling it. You know what? And again, it goes back to the whole Vic Fangio thing. You mess up. I mean, I know we're in our society, everything is positive reinforcement, but sometimes you need to have a little bit of a negative reinforcement or a punishment for not doing what you need to do. And the fact that the players themselves are the ones that stepped up that made them run sprints, I love it. Like I said, I am so high right now on the Eagles. Maybe I'm just high. I don't know, but I really like where this team is heading. I like what I'm seeing so far early in camp. And sure, there's going to be questions on defense. However, I still go back to the 2017 Super Bowl season. And I know the 2022 Super Bowl season was a little bit different. That defense was pretty good. But that 2017 defense wasn't necessarily great. It's just that offense was so explosive that they were able to kind of make teams one-dimensional. And with the way this offense is set up this year, I'm kind of looking for the defense to be in a similar position to that they were that year. That if you can get teams one-dimensional and allow you to focus on one aspect of their game, you're going to do well. And I see a lot of similarities with guys coming in on one-year deals, young guys ready to step up. So I like where this is going. Talk to me in a couple weeks. I'll probably be coming down and ripping something, but we'll see. All right, go to Philly Goat. They have a new Hugh Douglas shirt, speaking of the Eagles, and it's Hugh Douglas. It's a great shirt, and 10% of the proceeds will benefit the Hugh Douglas Fund, or the Hugh Thomas Douglas Fund, which gives out scholarships to juniors in the business school at Morehouse in honor of Hugh's late son. Great cause, great shirt. So go to Philly Goat. They got the T-Mac and Kruk for President in 24 shirts. They benefit Battle Brothers. I really like the Philly Goat is kind of turning and helping out some charities and things like that. Kudos to them for that. They have a ton of great stuff. So go to phillygoat.com. Be sure to put in that promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. That's phillygoat.com. Promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10%. But you want to help out the juniors over at Morehouse College in the business school to get scholarships, buy the Hugh Douglas shirt. You want to help out Battle Brothers, buy any of the John Kruk shirts. And you know what? Why not do both? But go to Philly Goat, use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off. Make sure you put the promo code in so Ryan knows that you're a listener. This is another thing I saw come out yesterday, but apparently it happened the other day. Daryl Morey has thrown shots, and I actually like this. I know a lot of people were not happy about it, but I guess he was on 97.5 The Fanatic and basically said, we're coming to take the title away from the Celtics. Sort of laying the gauntlet down, and you know what? Why not? I mean, you basically went all in for this season, and nobody's ever talked like this. The team has never really talked like this. The front office. I like it. I mean, it could blow up in our faces, and it likely will. But I like it. You're kind of calling them out, igniting that rivalry. And truthfully, lately, it has not been that much of a rivalry. So, hey, whatever it's got to do, if that's going to motivate your team to play well and really go all in, I'm all for it, man. I'm not sure why. Usually I cringe at something like this. But I like it because I feel like we're at the spot where it's all or nothing. So lay that gauntlet down, Daryl. Listen, you had an A-plus offseason, so go ahead, talk your talk, and shoot your shot. And now the pressure's on the team. And the pressure was already going to be on this team. And hopefully they just relish it. And I don't know. I'm all in on this. You can let me know what you think of this on the Back to the Future voice and text line. Maybe it's just... I don't know, but I absolutely love this. Union opened up their Leagues Cup tournament tonight down at Subaru Park. They welcome Charlotte FC. Can they keep the momentum rolling? And can they use this tournament to sort of catapult them to a playoff run? Let's hope so. All right, today we are going to go back to 1950. And on this day in 1950, Phillies beat the Cubs 13-3 at Shibe Park. Del Ennis went 2 for 5, including a bases-loaded double and a grand slam to tie a team record with 7 RBI. Yes, Del Ennis with 7 RBI. The current record for the Phillies is 8, and that is shared by Puddin Head, Willie Jones, Mike Schmidt, and Jayson Werth all had 8 RBI in a game. But on this day, it was Del Ennis tying the record with 7 RBI in a 13-3 win versus the Cubs. Ennis is one of those guys that you should know about if you're a Phillies fan. 3-time All-Star, led the National League in RBI that year in 1950. That was the Whiz Kids year, and is in the Phillies Wall of Fame as well as the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. But Del Ennis, one of the greatest Phillies to ever put on the pinstripes, tied the team record on this day in 1950 with 7 RBI in a game against the Cubs down at Shibe Park. And I'd be remiss if I didn't bring this up today. Give you a little bit of a bonus this day. Also on this day in 2008, the curse of Billy Penn officially ended when the Soul beat the San Jose SaberCats 59-56 to win the Arena Bowl, bringing the elusive title drought. Well, I guess if you count Villanova, but we're not counting Villanova. But bringing the professional title drought to an end in Philadelphia and paving the way for the Phillies to win the World Series later that October. The Soul do not get enough credit for officially ending the curse and opening the door for the Phillies to win the World Series, but that happened on this day in 2008. Figured we talk a lot about the curse of Billy Penn, so I figured I would bring it on. All right. And then finally today, our Philly Olympic Olympic Spotlight, our player of the day is Boyd Martin, who is an equestrian rider who actually is currently, as I'm recording this, is in competition. Equestrian kicked off today. But Martin is Australian-born, now lives in a small town called Cochranville, which is in southern Chester County, roughly about 15 minutes away from where I grew up in Coatesville. And lots of good memories there between going to the fair and playing Little League and all of those other good things. But Cochranville's own Boyd Martin is our Olympic Spotlight today. And he is one of the most successful equestrian athletes that the United States has. I believe he's 45, and apparently that is just getting into your prime when it comes to equestrian. The older you get, the more wisdom. It's one of those sports where the older you are, sometimes the better you are. Many, many broken bones for Boyd. But this is his fourth Olympics. He's currently ranked number 3 in the world, so a medal is a very legitimate option for him this year. He is a 3-time Pan American gold medalist. Took the silver in the 2022 World Cup, so he's been performing well lately. And like I said, the equestrian got underway this morning at 3:30 a.m., so he is currently competing now. And I believe the equestrian lasts about a week. And if you ever been to the Devon Horse Show, sort of they have the different ways to do it. I was trying to follow up, and equestrian is a hard sport, man. Like riding the horse, getting them to jump. You have to be sort of in tune with the horse. So kudos to these guys. And if I was reading about Boyd and all of the different broken bones and surgeries he had. So hometown hero for me. Well, not hometown, but close to hometown hero. Boyd Martin is today's Philly Olympic Spotlight. Let's go win the gold, make the United States and Chester County proud. Let's do it. I have not, as of the time I went to start recording this, he had not started his rotation, I think they call it yet. But Boyd Martin gives you something to look forward to, somebody to root for as you're having your coffee this morning. Chester County's own. Let's make Chester County and the United States proud, Boyd. On this day in 1950, Ennis tied the Phillies record with 7 RBI in a game in a 13-3 win over the Cubs at Shibe. The record now is 8, and that is shared with Puddin Head Jones, Mike Schmidt, and Jayson Werth. Also on this day, have to talk about it, the curse of Billy Penn when the Philadelphia Soul won the Arena Bowl, paving the way for the Phillies to win the World Series in 2008. Be sure to hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line 267-495-8531. Get your thoughts on anything Philly sports related. Vote on the question of the day. Is this a blip for the Phils or is this cause for concern? I'm starting to get concerned. I'm not going to lie. Again, I think it might be PTSD from the Eagles, but this is sort of how they started off, and I don't know. I'm a little nervous. But Dave Dombroski has more moves in him, so let me know, too, what you want to see. Which relievers do you think Brandon Marsh and Rojas should platoon? Should Marsh be the starting center fielder? You give up a lot on defense that way, but still remains to be seen. I would not be surprised if we see Austin Hayes in the starting lineup today, especially since he was in the dugout yesterday anyway. Be sure to hit me up on the socials. Call or text the Back to the Future voice line. Get out and enjoy this day. Be sure to be rooting for our boy Boyd Martin in the equestrian events today. It is Olympic season, ladies and gentlemen. But this has been This Day in Philly Sports History for July 27th, 2024. I'm Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Saturday. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.